Okay, we're all set on our end.
Thank you, Aaron. The committee will come to order. Commissioner, staff, and guests, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the committee may do so for up to 3 minutes.
I would like to.
Just me.
Heather Wing, I'd like to, please. Jack Ward.
And Patricia Real as well.
Please, in your little video box, if you can, is there a place where you can put your hand up? Aaron, is that does not have that? Okay. Okay, on the bottom of your screen, there should be, like, if you move your cursor, there's a place where it says participants. If you get the participant list, you can raise your hand, and it would show me that your hand is raised. But otherwise, we're going to start with Mr. Gross.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Aaron Gross, 705 Balton Drive, Hastings, Michigan, City of Hastings. My public comment for today is in regards to the the end of year fund transfers to various different funds. I call on the commission to not pass those resolutions because we did not get the millage through that you wanted. So what we need to do is develop a plan to pay for the jail going forward from here. And one way I see to do that is to use budget surpluses to create a new jail fund. So I call on the commission to not pass those resolutions and to also develop a plan for paying for the jail of normal operating expenses. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Jack, I believe you are next.
Thank you.
Jack Ward, thank you.
Yeah, Jack Ward. I'm the Berry County Zoning Code Enforcement Officer. I started my career with Berry County as a court screener. And right now I'm hearing from the grumblings, actually, from them about the frontline pay. I'm not sure exactly what it was called. I can't remember. These people are there every day on the front line. And there's a real controversy on how they're supposed to get paid for that. And I just find that they really should step up and do something for them people. They always seem to be the redheaded stepchild who nobody wants to claim, but everybody wants to tell what to do. I just think they need to get that pay to them for being through all this pandemic, working right there on that front line. And with that being said, I just need to get back to work. So have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. I believe Patty Rail has her hand up from Middleville.
Yes, thank you. I am Patricia Rail. I'm with the Village of Middleville, and I wanted to thank you again for considering the contract for our wastewater expansion projects bond, and thank you very much for your consideration.
And scrolling through the participants, I do not see any other hands. Is there any other limited public comment this morning? Thank you very much. First item on our agenda is Liz Lenz. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to submit the attached 2021 grant application to the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, LARA, Bureau of Medical Marijuana Regulations for the Berry County Substance Abuse Task Force to conduct education, communication, and outreach regarding the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act in Berry County.
So moved. Gibson.
Support Geiger.
Moved by Gibson, support by Geiger. Liz, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Thank you for letting us come before you today. You may recall that 2 years ago, the health department came in before you to seek approval on this then new grant. And we worked with them in 2019. And again, last year we came in front of you to get the health department applied for the funds then. And we, along with the health department, the substance abuse task force, worked together in 2020. This year, due to COVID, the transition time is perfect for the substance abuse task force to take this over. And we have full cooperation and blessings from the health department to continue to work together on our third year of this effort. And you can see, and hopefully you were able to read the application, you can see that the partnership between the health department and the substance abuse task force is strong and will remain so. We will use local vendors when possible to help us with our work. And our focus this year continues the good work that's been laid by the previous 2 year grants. The health department did have some success with distributing lock boxes, and we'll continue that. We will continue to educate women or those people who are pregnant or breastfeeding about the risks during those times to children. We will continue to work on educating the community about risk to youth and while driving. There will be some surveys that will be conducted and media campaigns. That seems to be a good way for us to share messages where we can address the risk factors. One new part is that we will be working to build relationships within the community, and this issue is here to stay. So we need to develop relationships where we all can agree on messages such as when and where marijuana is safer to consume versus riskier. So, do you have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Liz?
No questions? You know me, I like to talk.
We know.
Well, thank you again. And if one pops up, just ask. Otherwise, I think I've described what we're going to do with this grant, and we look forward to it. Should you approve it?
Thank you. Any other discussion by the commissioners? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to submit the attached 2021 grant application to the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, LARA, Bureau of Medical Marijuana Regulation for the Berry County Substance Abuse Task Force to conduct education, communication, and outreach regarding the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act in Berry County. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay? The item is approved. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Just a point of order, Madam Clerk, Commissioners Parker and Connor are excused from today's meeting.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Tammy Price. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the fiscal year 2021 Office of Community Corrections grant contract and to authorize the chairperson of the board to sign it.
So move, Smelker.
Or support, Jackson.
Moved by Smelker, support by Jackson. Tammy, the floor is yours. Are you with me?
I am.
Oh, I see you. There we go.
Good morning. So my request is that you sign the contract for the OCC this year, and we actually received $8,552 more than we did last year, so that's wonderful. We are increasing our drug testing. We are that extra money will also accommodate step raises and increases that are still associated with the reclassification. Additionally, we are looking at discontinuing our anger management program and beginning a relapse prevention program that would be open to all probationers through the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Was there just not enough participation in the or the anger management class?
There was not. Our numbers were very low, and if we don't do something different with that funding, then they'll eventually take it away from us. And the CCAD was very interested in having a relapse prevention group that would be open to the Michigan Department of Corrections probationers as well, just because, boy, does that seem to be pretty consistently present and prevalent in our probationers, the need for relapse prevention.
Understood. Any other questions for Tammy? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the fiscal year 2021 Office of Community Corrections grant contract and authorize the chairperson to sign it. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Oh, I didn't need to do that. Next on our agenda is Suzanne Hebner with the Berry County Remonumentation Program. The question before the committee would be to recommend, at this time the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2021 grant agreement between the State of Michigan, LARA, and the Berry County for the continuation of the remonumentation program in Berry County.
So moved, Jackson.
Support.
Geiger.
Moved by Jackson, support by Geiger. Suzanne, the floor is yours.
Thank you and good morning. I'm here in front of you this morning to ask you for the approval to enter into this 2021 grant agreement between the State of Michigan, LARA, and it is specifically the Office of Land Survey and Remonumentation, and Berry County, so that we can continue the remonumentation program next year here in Berry County. The State of Michigan has offered us a grant for next year for $46,796, which is down from this year's grant of $51,713, but we're still getting a pretty good amount of money offered to us. And so I am seeking the approval today to be able to enter into that grant agreement. It will be signed by me with your blessing. And then once I have the approval from you, I will go ahead and fill out the actual grant application and outlining the expenses and our work program for 2021. And we'll have that submitted, and that will become attachment A to the grant agreement, so that we can continue our remonumentation program.
Any questions for Suzanne? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the 2021 grant agreement between the State of Michigan, LARA, and Berry County for the continuation of the remonumentation program in Berry County. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay? The item is approved. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Under Sheriff Sixberry. See him there. The question before the committee. The chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to pay out the court screeners for their COVID-19 comp time.
So moved, Gibson.
Support, Geiger.
Moved by Gibson, support by Geiger. Under Sheriff Sixberry.
Because his video and his mic are on.
Well, his mic was muted a few minutes ago, and now it's not. So I don't know if he's having trouble.
Heather, I can hear him talking. I will.
There he
try
is.
This now, switch rooms. The main reason I did speak with County Administrator Michael Brown about this. Also, the hard part is that in order for our court screeners to be able to use the COVID comp, they would actually have to be on the agenda to work that day or on the schedule. And when doing that, it would also create additional issues because we'd have a staff shortage and they can only work a certain amount of hours in a 30-day period under the 8-hour shift period. So either way, if we schedule them, we turn around and have to turn around and tell them to take the day off, and then we'd still have to fulfill that with another court screener, which defeats the purpose and with a shortage already. And that's the main reason that we're asking to pay them out for their COVID comp versus trying to give them a day to work and then they turn around and take the day off and we still have to supply a spot or cover that shift.
Any questions for the undersheriff?
Jason, this is John Smelker. I see by the price of it there, it's only $2,000. This is just for the court screeners, right?
That is correct. That is the total amount based on 185.25 hours of that's total from the 1.15 comp of the hours worked from the 6 court screeners, yes. And it's only for the court screeners itself because of the hardship of trying to cover their shift if we did have them take the day off.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Michael, are you available? Is this an additional expense in addition to what we already approved for the CARES Act COVID funding? Is this something totally separate, or is this kind of inclusive under that umbrella?
So this would not fall under any of the CARES Act funding. Any of the CARES Act funding that we received went to first responders, and I think that's a little bit what Jack was talking about earlier. Our court screeners do not fall under the COVID, the CARES Act First Responders Hazard Pay Premium Program. So this was funds that, if you'll remember, the board authorized for those individuals that had to work when we were closed, that actually reported to the office, and only for that time that they reported to the office. So this is additional, if you know, or maybe more precisely, something different aside from the CARES Act funding, because it applies to folks who didn't otherwise get those CARES Act funds.
Okay. In your conversation with Jason, do you see this being a reasonable expense based on the other comp that we've given out to our frontline workers?
So this lines itself up in the compensation. What the payout is in line with what the board approved for these folks. So if that answers your question, it certainly, this group, again, a little bit back to Jack Ward's comment, if I can apply that context, the deputies, the sheriff's deputies, would have received not only the comp time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but this comp time, although they were not allowed to cash this out, but they also then received a $1,000 hazard pay premium payment. The court screeners will not receive, they're not eligible for the $1,000 hazard pay premium, they are eligible for the COVID comp time, which the deputies also got. And if you remember, we said they could not use that, cash that in. It had to be used within a year. In this case, Jason is asking for it to be compensated to them because the difficulty in backfilling those positions, if we do just allow them to use it.
And this is for the current fiscal year, and we have that in contingency cover.
It is from this fiscal year, and actually it's the budget that we established at the beginning of the year should cover payment of this also. We do not use it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Michael or Jason? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to pay out the court screeners for their COVID-19 comp time. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay?
Was quarantined at home.
All those opposed, nay? The item is approved. Thank you. Next on our agenda is Michael Brown with a whole laundry list of stuff for us to do this morning. Let's see how fast we can get that going. Michael, the first on our agenda is the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the audit engagement agreement with Walker Fluke and Sheldon PC to perform the 2020 Berry County Road Commission annual audit.
So moved,
Geiger.
Moved by Geiger, support by Gibson. We'll go that way.
Thank you. Yeah, real quickly, in the description of action, and as you might recall, the Road Commission is required to conduct an annual audit of its financial statements. It does and has. However, public law requires that the proposed agreement with the CPA be confirmed by the Board of Commissioners. To meet that requirement, they're asking for you to confirm and approve the engagement in an amount not to exceed $9,050 to complete the 2020 annual audit.
Is there any questions? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the audit engagement agreement with Walker Fluke and Sheldon PC to perform the 2020 Berry County Road Commission annual audit. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? The item is approved. Next on the agenda, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend approval of the attached administrative rate addendum to the agreement between Berry County and Veripro of Grand Rapids, Michigan, effective January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, for short-term disability administration, and authorize the county administrator to sign it.
So moved, Jackson.
Support, Smelker.
Moved by Jackson, support by Smelker. Michael?
Yes, thank you. This is also a renewal. The county continues, it does continue, but it is self-funded for short-term disability claims. Our short-term disability is a program that provides up to 1 year of disability for non-work-related disability. Work-related disability, of course, is work comp related. The county contracts with a third-party administrator to administer the claims. Veripro is the third-party administrator that we have used. We would like to continue to use them. The 2021 renewal pricing remains the same as the current pricing of $2.25 per month per employee. So I would request that the board renew the agreement with Veripro benefit administrators for administration of our short-term disability.
Any questions for Michael? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend approval of the attached administrative rate addendum to the agreement between Berry County and Veripro of Grand Rapids, Michigan, effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, for a short-term disability administration, and authorize the county administrator to sign it. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Next, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Resolution 20-23 to authorize the auditor to transfer 2020 general fund surplus funds to various internal service funds.
So moved. Gibson.
Support Jackson.
Moved by Gibson, support by Jackson. Michael?
Yes, thank you. This is a resolution that we have done for a number of years. It follows with kind of our past practice. It proposes transferring, and we of course don't know what that surplus will be, but it proposes transferring 55% of whatever surpluses or unexpended funds exist in the general fund into the building rehabilitation fund, 15% into data processing, 15% into the capital replacement fund, and 15% into the vehicle fund. You'll remember a number of years ago, too many years it seems now, that we established these funds so that we could fund capital and technology and vehicle needs that weren't being funded. We have tried to build up fund balances so that we have a few years anyway, should we have a year that we don't have any surplus funds or excess funds in the general fund, we would be able to continue to purchase the technology and capital that we require annually and not have to immediately cease purchasing those while we then looked at some sort of an alternative plan. So I would recommend that we continue doing this. As the gentleman proposed earlier, the board may want to continue or look at trying to fund a jail product out of existing funds, surplus funds. These funds would still be available in the 2021 or beyond to the degree that they aren't spent. We do have capital requirements for 2021, but to the degree that they haven't been spent, they would be available should the board want to look at trying to use those for the jail. That being said, as we think about the jail project, until we get a jail solved to replace our existing facility, the existing facility has significant capital needs, and capital needs that in some cases we've deferred for the past few years, waiting to see if we were to replace it. That'll be one of the items that we're going to have to talk about immediately come the new year. Start talking a little bit about is, do we begin to invest in our existing facility? And more precisely, I guess, do we need to? Are there items that have become not necessarily emergent, but that if our time frame is longer than what we think the useful life of some of the items of the facility, we may have to begin to make some investment in that facility until a permanent solution is found. So a lot of information, and I would recommend that we continue the path that we've taken, and then if the board in 2021 wants to look at it and make a departure, we can plan accordingly at that point. I'll stop right there.
Any questions for Michael?
Michael, your mic seems to be unusually quiet this morning. So it's a little hard to hear everything, especially with the background noise. But is there any way you can turn that up just a little bit for us?
I don't know that I can. Give me just a minute. What I can do is call in.
I say I have earpiece in and I hear no background noise. All I hear is Michael talking.
Would folks like me to switch to the phone and call in?
That's better now, where you're at. I hear no background noise now.
I think when Heather's
I don't hear it
muted, the
either.
background noise goes away. I don't know if it's from the place of employment.
I believe it is.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'll try to speak up a little bit more as well. Would anybody like me to repeat anything that I just said?
You did a good job.
Okay. Polite way of saying no, thank you.
Any other questions for Michael? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Resolution 20-23 to authorize the auditor to transfer 2020 general fund surplus funds to the various internal service funds. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Next, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Resolution 20-24 to authorize the auditor to make final year-end transfers.
So moved, Gibson.
Support, Jackson.
All right, this is another recurring annual resolution. A little bit different than what the previous one was. The previous one is taking a look at any surplus funds that may exist in the general fund. This one is making a transfer within budgeted funds. So there are a couple of funds, the Adult Drug Court, the Friend of the Court, and the Child Care Fund that we need and want to have maintain fund balances because of the size and nature of their expenditures. However, if you'll recall, and I'll use the Child Care Fund as an example, when we budget for the Child Care Fund, and now Inez brings over and discusses that with you, we're looking at worst case scenario. So we budget for that. That doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. And if we then make the transfer that corresponds to the highest possible expenditures, we end up building that fund balance over time. We don't want to build that fund balance anymore. So what we do is we wait and direct the auditors, once the final expenditures are determined, to calculate and make the final transfer from the general fund into these funds based on what's necessary to maintain the fund balance at its current level and not grow it. That's what this resolution does. So I'll stop there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Resolution 20-24 to authorize the auditor to make final year-end transfers. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The item is approved. Next on our agenda, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of Resolution 20-26, a resolution to authorize execution of Middleville wastewater system contract.
So moved, Geiger.
Support, Smelker.
Moved by Geiger, support by Smelker. Michael, and I believe Mr. Nettleton is here to discuss it with us.
Yes, good morning. Michael, do you want me to start?
That'd be great. And Mark, if you can speak up just a little as well. I don't know if you're coming through a little quiet.
Sure. Is this any better?
Perfect.
I'll get very close.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
For the committee's consideration is this resolution to adopt the bond contract with the Village of Middleville. This is the next step in the financing of that project on behalf of the Village of Middleville. Reminder, it's a estimated $6.4 million project. The village would anticipate bonds in the not to exceed amount of about $4.1 million. Those bonds would be issued by the county on behalf of the village pursuant to this contract. Under the terms of the contract, the county would own this expansion project for the term when the bonds are outstanding, but the responsibility for the operation and maintenance and funding of the project and to be able to repay the debt service would be the Village of Middleville's obligation. The village would pledge its limited tax full faith and credit for repayment of this obligation to the county. And the intent is that the village would use rates and charges from sewer customers and new customers in the village to pay this obligation to the county to enable the county to repay the debt service on the bonds. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of Resolution 20-26, a resolution to authorize execution of Middleville wastewater systems contract. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Geiger votes aye.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Smelker? I saw an aye. Those opposed, nay. The item is approved. Next on our agenda, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Budget Amendment 20-D.
So moved. Gibson.
Support, Jackson.
Moved by Gibson, support by Jackson. Michael?
Yes, thank you. This will be the final budget amendment of the year, although we do have one item that will need to be added that came in after we prepared the budget amendment, and that's it would be to the trial court funds related to CARES Act funds that we received. So we will add that to the document that goes before the board on the 15th, and we'll put that under items for consideration since there'll be a minor change. I believe it's about a $15,000 increase to the general fund expenditures in the trial court. Those again, CARES Act funds that the trial court applied for. The board approved that, and they have received. But it will also have an offset on the revenue side, so it will be net neutral to the general fund. In the general fund, there are no changes to the revenue side of things. There are two minor changes to the expenditures on page 6. We are proposing that the law library appropriation for 2020 be increased by $5,000. The law library is a special revenue fund. The funds go to fund just at the law library through the trial court system. Right now, it's an online system that they have, and the fund balance is at or near zero. We like to maintain a little bit of a fund balance so that if our estimates are off, we don't have a deficit situation. at the end of the year that we then have to go through a deficit elimination plan for. So the idea would be that this 5,000 would effectively remain in fund balance to provide that room for cushion. The other is a $4,500 increase to Public Works. That's associated with the brownfield redevelopment program this year. We're proposing that those come out of contingency, so that reduces contingency from 57,000 to 47,000, and the remainder of the general fund stays the same. There are then some amendments to special revenue, debt service, and internal service funds. I'm happy to, those are on pages 9 through 11. I'm happy to walk through any of those if the board has questions. And then pages 12 and 13 provide the detail.
Any questions for Michael? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approve. Somebody have a question? Okay. The question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of Budget Amendment 20-D. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The item is approved. The last on our agenda, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the attached consulting agreement between the County of Berry and Sheridan Land Consulting for the term beginning December 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, as approved by the Berry County Conservation Easement Board.
So moved, Gibson.
Support, Jackson.
Moved by Gibson, support by Jackson. I guess I can speak to this. We got the contract back from Sheridan Land for the application cycle that we just submitted. There's various stages of paperwork, and this is just to approve the contract with Stacy to complete that process.
And Heather, this is in addition to the Conservation Easement Board's annual budget?
Nope, we just amended our budget. We had the funds to pay for this. It's just we had to move funds from one line item to the other to cover the bill. But this is part of what we've contracted her. You know, we've kind of done a piecemeal, so every step of the way versus, you know, signing a contract for the whole year. Every time she does something for us, we have a new contract for her. And so this is the contract just for the State of Michigan application cycle that we just submitted the Wixom farm for. And so it's just for her to complete the cycle.
Okay. So it is a budgeted item that's already included in it.
It is. I think there was the cost for one of the appraisals this spring was a little more than we anticipated. There were some additional costs there because of some of the I think the online research that they had to do the title search. So we just needed to move some funds out of one line item into another to be able to cover this.
Perfect, thank you.
But I'm happy to say we still have a fund balance, so we didn't spend it all. We will next year, maybe.
Heather,
any other questions?
Heather, this is John. Do you anticipate any of these farms that are accepted and get large chunks of cash donating anything back to the Preservation Board so the taxpayers do not have to foot this bill?
I do not know. I have not had the opportunity to talk to either one of the landowners. COVID has really hampered all of our ability to communicate. The Carpenters are, I would call them neighbors. They live 6 miles away as the crow flies. It's just difficult to go visit anyone. They were elderly. Mrs. Carpenter is kind of stuck in her home right now because of COVID, having lost him. I don't even think they've done a memorial service, or maybe they did. Yeah, they did. They did one at my church. But it was one of those where you only had 10 or 15 people or just immediate family to be able to go. So it's difficult to know. It may be some time before she gets the federal funds for this, and I don't know what. I mean, she's not a young lady. I don't know how long, if that process takes a while. I don't know, and I don't know the Wickham's situation either. I have not had the opportunity to talk to them. Stacy has done most of the communication with the farms. I think that their willingness to donate the I guess the equity in the farms is huge. So the county only benefits from that. I do know that there is a committee with the Conservation Easement Board to begin working with the Community Foundation to help identify, I guess, advertisement or educational or some type of pamphlet to work with the Community Foundation to help recruit donors, for lack of a better term, or just to maybe just announce that we are looking for people who believe strongly in ag preservation to help with our process. It would be nice. I recently read a news piece from Ottawa County. They just preserved another 186-acre parcel or farm. They now have over 500 acres preserved. I think we're right in that ballpark, except they have a lot of private donors that are helping with this funding through their different funds that they have set up in Ottawa County. I think Kent County has some foundations that help pay for theirs. Ingham County definitely has supported their ag preservation. They have a millage. It's not a huge millage. It's probably not as much as what we pay for Charlton Park every year, but they have a lot of acres preserved in Ingham County. So. Any other questions? Hearing none, the question before the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the attached consulting agreement between the County of Barry and Sheridan Land Consulting, Inc. for the term beginning December 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, as approved by the Barry County Conservation Easement Board. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay?
Nay.
The item is approved. Is there any, is there anything else? I do have a topic I would like to discuss that didn't make the agenda, but I did not get my paperwork prepared. On Tuesday, maybe, I would like to discuss a word that I absolutely hate. I would like to discuss county transparency. With COVID and everything else that's going on, I would really like to know more about what all of our departments are doing, the people that they are serving either in person or via the internet. We, some time ago, added a line item to our agenda to allow state and local officers to report. So far, we've had 2 that voluntarily have made reports to us. I think we need to know more about what's going on in other departments, and I would really like to have that discussion before we close out the year. I may try to I don't want to do it outside the bounds of our meetings, and so this is a very difficult discussion to have on a Zoom meeting. But that being said, I'd really like to know how we are servicing our community and how many people are coming in and how many people are resorting to online services. I think it's important for our community to know that we are still working and that they can still reach out to us. But I'd really like to know from our electeds particularly how busy their offices are and what their workload is. Are they answering more emails than they are regular mail? Do they have more people calling in asking for help than they do coming into the office? I think since we're not able to do business as normal, I think we should be making a report to our community what we're actually doing. Michael can tell us, we have this in place, that in place, we're all wearing masks, we got screeners at the door. But how many people are actually coming in and filing for marriage licenses? Pam told us a couple of times now. The sheriff comes to us routinely with his statistics. I need to know what's going on in the other parts of our county government, and I kind of like to know what our departments are doing too. I know that planning and zoning was kind of limited. Different ones have been off for various reasons, but are they still, meeting the demands of what their job says? So I would really like to hear from our departments to get a grip on what's going on. Moving forward, we may need those statistics to justify positions. If we can do work via the internet, why do we have so many people on staff? Or maybe we need more people on staff that can handle the internet responses better than some of the people that we already have, or in conjunction with the people we already have. I think that we need to start a baseline on what we can do, and if we don't start someplace, we'll be behind the times or behind the 8 ball moving forward. So I guess I had my 3 minutes. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the committee may do so for up to 3 minutes. Again, there is a participants button at the bottom, and it allows you to raise your hand. I am scrolling through. I do not see any hands raised. I also do not see anybody waving at me in the gallery. Is there any other business to come before the committee?
This is Dave.
Madam Chair.
Question would for me to be, we've got some input and some correspondence from constituents this week on a lawsuit that Sheriff Leaf participated in or was a party to. Is he available to answer any questions about that, or can he give us any background or insight? If that's within the bounds of what we can discuss in our meeting.
I see he's still in our meeting via attendance, and he did try to talk when you started. So, Sheriff, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello. Something's wrong with my camera here. Do I turn that back on, do you know?
I do not see you, but we hear you just fine.
All right. I had a phone call from an attorney over on the east side of the state saying she had several complaints about voter fraud here in Berry County. She called me up, asked if she could come on in and do some affidavits signed, notarized here at the sheriff's office. I told her if we do that, we want to know if there was any voter fraud here in Berry County. I'm still waiting to hear her final analysis. She's a former prosecutor out of Wayne County. And anyways, then we found out that there's a letter that went on out to the clerks throughout the state to eliminate certain things out of the computer, which could have been evidence for us. So the request was wasn't so much a lawsuit asking for anything except for a delay on deleting that information. So we could look at it. We had 9 people come in last Saturday to fill out these affidavits, and we haven't gone through all 9 of them yet. So bear with me on it.
Okay.
Any other questions for the sheriff?
Did I see, Sheriff, that lawsuit was dismissed yesterday?
My request was declined, is what it basically was.
Okay. All right. Thank you. There's been a lot of questions on that, and I appreciate you addressing that.
All right. Thank you.
Is there any other questions today? Any other business to come before the committee? There being no
Madam Chair,
further
do you
business.
want our
Yes, sir.
Are you saving the stats for next meeting
Sure.
from last month?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do it next meeting. That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There being no further business and without objection, the committee is adjourned. Thanks, folks. One more to go.